Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Back at you for Thursday Night Book Club again. It is Eddard 7, chapter 31 in the book, chapter 30 audiobook. I'm Lady Wolverton. Everybody calls me Jen. You can find me here in Lady Wolverton's Den, or you can find me on Facebook under Jennifer Wolverton, or you can find me on Twitter, Jennifer Wolverton 1976. That belies my age, but whatever. All right, then. I'm going to let Sarah go ahead and introduce her lovely self.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, I'm Sarah. I play around on social media, and I wanted to say thank you specifically for making me clean this backdrop. That's like where I dump everything, and so I'm like, that shelf needs to get clean every Thursday. So of the many things I'm grateful for, that is one of them.
That's awesome. I hear you. My blankets and all my mess is just like faux. It's actually just thrown over the couch.
Very excited for Eddard 7. Is that correct? Eddard 7?
Yep.
All right. And I broke down the chapter, and I might be the person who's like, do we want to go down this rabbit hole, or do we want to keep going? Very excited for Eddard 7.
Oh, I see that you're muted, Sarah. I can hear you. Hi, everybody. I'm LMR. You can find me on 2 of my channels, Living My Rhapsody and Living Reviews, also Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And again, thank you for having me here. Jen, you're muted.
I know. Okay. Okay. Well, thank y'all for being here. I'm gonna let the lovely Sarah take over. Y'all, doesn't she look cute tonight? I told her she looks really cute tonight.
Jen, you're too kind. Do I even look? Is it cute? But is it functional? I put the headphones on. Can you hear me? Okay.
You're good. You're
all
very.
Right, I hope I'm not hurting anyone's ears.
I just want to say hey real quick to Aggie. She's in the chat under AB's Corner. That's going to be her and Brand's new channel. Please subscribe. They're going to be great. And also a big time shout out to AU Pack Mule in the chat, the man who taught me how to live stream. So everybody can blame him.
I am not looking at the chat, so that would be a fantastic place to troll me. I'd never even find out. All right, so I'm going to speak as if I'm the only person speaking right now. Jen? Oh my God.
Yeah, babe, what's up? Yeah, you do look like Princess Leia.
I look like Princess Leia? Oh,
yeah, with your headphones. They kind of are Princess Leia-esque.
That's a fantastic high order compliment.
Right. You're like, I would take that. Thank you.
Yeah. There's 100 worse things. So I broke the chapter down into just 4 pieces, because there's like Eddard's chapters. There's a lot happens in those. Okay. So first is when we're with Sir Hugh. Second is Robert's tent, before breakfast, after breakfast. We talked about those were very different experiences. Then 3, the Tourney, the second half of the King Hand of the King's Tourney, in which we hear about Jamie, Renly, having banter with Littlefinger, Gregor, Loras the Hound, Anguy, Ned, daughters, and then 4 post-Tourney, where other things happen. But those are the 4 pieces. And yeah, so wherever you guys want to start, I will step back now.
Well, let's start where all good stories start, at the beginning. What's in that cup?
What's in that cup? Red wine.
See, I wish we could share. I wish we could share
my gift. My gift was, if I get this far in my day, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to drink it. And thank you. Thank you for having this experience with me. All right, so.
You're awesome. Go ahead. You told me earlier, you said tonight it's going to be a wine night.
I listen. Yeah.
Got my Coke.
All right. So it's an Eddard chapter. He walks in. He's I believe it's the words of Barristan Selmy, who says, I stood vigil with him all night. There was no one to even be here. Supposedly he has a mother in the veil. There's like queer in the word, in the meaning of sort of mysterious, not typical understanding of the situation. There's queer circumstances surrounding his knighthood and then his subsequent death at the hand of a Lannister bannerman, the Hound. Or not the Hound, Jesus, sorry. The brother. The mountain. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Hey, Misha, just one sec. Misha has joined us.
Hey, Misha.
We're glad you're here.
Oh, she's muted.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Sarah. Okay, so the mountain, Gregor Clegane has killed Sir Hugh, and it was
So you know, I guess we get another example of Eddard being a good guy, where he's gonna pay for the armor, even though it's probably not paid for, and arrange to have the armor sent back to the Vale. And we learn about the Silent Sisters. I think they did a nice job of that on the show. They were kind of like covered up and interesting looking. And so that's Sir Hugh. We can talk about the conspiracy behind his death, if there even is one. I mean, there's every possible situation. Anyone could have tried to kill Sir Hugh, or the mountain that rides is just a killer. So, but okay, as the reader, we're going through it all. In Robert's 10, anytime you guys can stop me if you had points that you want to discuss specifically. So then we go into Robert's 10, and I realized, I'm sorry, maybe it doesn't, I'm like un-American to say it, but I hate Robert Baratheon at this point in history. I hate him. I hate him. Screaming and yelling, acting crazy, all out of pride. Like he's the king, right? He won with his weapon, which was the Warhammer. They're in a camp, like a tournament camp. Like the castle is probably a mile away. He's someone who's so vain. He had his Warhammer put outside his, because he just lived. That's what he is. That's his Warhammer. So we get him trying to argue that he wants to fight, and Cersei told him that he couldn't fight, and Barristan Selmy said it would be unseemly for you to fight, because who dare strike a king? And I think hopefully I can very eloquently open this up. Yes, okay. So I'll read. Robert seemed honestly taken aback. Why? All of them, damn it, if they can. The last man left standing will be you, Ned finished, once he saw that Selmy hit the mark. The dangers of the melee were only a savor to Robert, but this touched on his pride. Sir Barristan is right. There's not a man in the Seven Kingdoms who dare risk your displeasure by hurting you. So then he throws the armor at Selmy, and Selmy leaves. And I'm like, this is a giant man baby. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be man bashing, but this particular situation, I'm not saying globally, but just this behavior is such man baby situation. I hate it. All right, so then.
Excuse me, Sarah.
Hey, Misha.
Hey,
yes.
Everyone. I certainly agree with you that he is a man baby, but I think there's a specific reason behind the way he acts. I think that on some unconscious level, he knows about Jaime and Cersei. And I think that he drinks, to kind of shield himself from that horrible fact. I mean, and on top of all of that, he is certainly equipped to conquer a kingdom, but he knows in his heart that he is not equipped to rule the kingdom. So, I mean, I think that mainly he's doing this to shield himself away from all of this, shield himself away from having to be the king, shield himself away from the fact that those kids are not his, and just to shield himself from the whole situation, the entire situation that led up to him being king, the death of Lyanna. So if I can play devil's advocate,
No, I appreciate it.
That's my reasoning behind it. But I do agree with you. He is a man baby.
Sorry. Yeah, you heard it here first, kids. Like, the first time I was much more sympathetic, or first or third or 70th, I don't know, but I don't remember hating him as much as I hated him this time. And so you're right. Like, there's lots of reasons to be empathetic with someone whose behavior you don't like. But yeah, so I have a comment later that I want to talk about with regards to his memory specifically. Actually, you know what? I think it fits in. We've already segued into item number 2, ladies and gentlemen, Robert's tent. We've gotten into Robert's tent. And they're arguing about the melee, and then what happens? Oh, he throws the armor and says, like, scram, and sends the boys for the royal breastplate stretcher. We meet Lancel and his cousin Tyrek, and yeah. Oh, but this is,
yeah. With that one, if I could add, Sarah,
please.
For that poor Lancel, that's his name? He has been treated so badly, and what I noticed is that Lannisters are very proud people. At least Cersei is proud. Like, they all seem very proud. So that's kind of that Lancel has to do what he's being told. And he's a squire and all that lovely stuff that comes with it. But then I think it is playing a role in his decision to do whatever he did, because he just couldn't handle it anymore. And we see him being mistreated starting here. This is, I think, where we meet him for the first time. And he's already being mistreated. So even though, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we also have Cersei rewarding him.
Yeah. So he's like being torn in different directions. So that I think also plays a role later on, where he, like, anybody can just blow up. Like, you can't handle everything. Like, you're being pulled here and then, and you just don't know what to just blow out emotions like he's gonna do. Like, so they kind of, it's on them, meaning on Robert and on Cersei and on everybody who treated him, that he might have, blown up later on in the books.
Also, the boys have been sent on a fool's errand. This is something my dad might have done to us kids when we were younger. Like, told you to go get something that doesn't exist, and then the next person sends you on.
Mom and Dad need an hour. Go find something.
Yeah. So what he says, and we see Aaron Santagar, his master at arms, again in this chapter. We met him in the Caitlin chapter when Sir Roderick wanted to sneak in and ask him about the cat's paw's blade dagger. And Robert specifically says, I hope that he sends them on to somebody else so that, he gets the gist of what we're doing here, that's a fictional thing, and he sends them somebody else. So basically he's trying to just keep them away from him. So right, Misha, on some level, when he's like, I realize I'm surrounded by Lannisters, he wants them away from him, and him sending them on this fool's errand to try to keep them occupied for quite some time is a good example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Robert, and I know that you hate him, but I still love him very much.
Listen, I have a soft spot for Theon, so I mean, like, Robert is way better of a crush than that. So
yeah. I mean, personally, I really love the actor who played Robert. I thought he played him beautifully.
Mark Addy, I really like him as well.
Yes, he has a beautiful voice. He sounded like a king. He had the look of a king, even though he was supposedly bald. I mean, with a heavy beard and overweight and so forth, but yet the actor who played
John Aaron says you need a commander needs a commander's voice, and John Addy has had the commander's voice.
Yes, he had a beautiful voice, absolutely beautiful. And I when I looked at his acting, I saw Robert, so I have to give credit on that. I mean, I can't spend my whole time disrespecting the show, because they did have wonderful actors. No doubt.
I agree. I think he was well cast
And
in that
anything that
role.
we have, like, let's say when we say at least what I do, like if I say like I hate somebody over there, it's not that I hate their acting, not at all. I mean, they are great actors. 99.9% of them are just awesome, wonderful. But when I say that I, don't like somebody, I just mean that, I don't like their character, and not the way they were written, but basically as if I were to not like a person, like for the way they're behaving or for their actions, not for how they were written or how they are being or how they're portraying the character. Nothing like that.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in the story,
yeah,
knowing what you know. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, for so kind of two sides. Like for Sarah, I completely get what you're saying. I mean, but Robert admits that he was not meant for rolling. He was meant for the other two things, which I won't say.
Can I say them?
Yeah, you can say them.
Ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Warring and whoring.
There you go. No, he actually admits it, so he understands himself well. So like Nisha, like you said, he must know. I mean, he knows himself enough, and it's kind of harder to know yourself. You can kind of, because it's harder to look within than to look at somebody. So if he knows himself that he's good at other things, he's not good as a king. You're right. He must know something. He must suspect something, and he's, like you said, drowning it. Because, like he said, there was something like, "How could my son do that? Like, if he were wild, that is a different thing. But he's not wild." And I forgot what he called Joffrey, but he was surprised that Joffrey wasn't wild. There was something else he called him.
I think probably one of the only moments I feel empathy towards Robert and not complete disgust is when he says, "I would, you know how often I dream of running away, being a sellsword,
Yes.
the sellsword king." And you know what keeps me here? The idea.
He says it himself, sellsword king.
Joffrey on the throne with Cersei whispering in his ear. And so I'm like, well, for that reason, he's like, how could I produce such a son, Ned? And Ned's like, it was a super awkward question, but he heard his friend in pain. And so he was there.
And he knew, and he says that he knew that Joffrey was lying. So yeah, we kind of, like, he's drowning his anything, all his pains in alcohol. He's just drowning himself, trying to not hear it. But there are glimpses of that he gets his son, he was lying. He admits it.
Right. That's right here. I have the quote right here. "I am sorry for your girl, Ned. Truly. About the wolf, I mean. My son was lying. I'd stake my soul on it. My son, you love your children, don't you?"
Yeah.
So he's all but saying he doesn't really have that fond of an affection for Joffrey. I believe, Robert is probably the kind of parent who wants to be proud of his children, but really wants them to be left in a nursery and then wants to be able to be proud of their accomplishments.
Yeah, like Disney World dad, like shows up to Disney World and then really isn't around. So, all right, aside from that, I think he also, I'm sorry, I got caught up in my own thoughts. What was I saying?
We're at warring and whoring, basically.
Warring and whoring. Oh, so the idea that, there's one moment where I did feel a little bit of empathy for him as well, as when he said, "John Aaron made me marry Cersei. Like, she's pretty to look at, but basically miserable." And which we completely feel, I completely think that he assaulted and treated her horribly. And I'm not saying he's a victim here at all, but basically John Aaron told him, marry this woman for Tywin's army in case Viserys turns up again. And I guess I just noted that specifically because so many times, I mean, from everything from how stupid his wig looked, I mean, like, and then they gave it to Rhaegar, like Viserys gets knocked on a lot, but an entire kingdom was built on a marriage should he resurface. And so it's a time for me to think, oh wow, there were actually people in charge, like such as John Aaron, who thought he had a reasonable chance of coming back and making a claim. So it was interesting for me specifically this turnaround, this time through.
Well, you know what? And I know everybody's like, Lady Wolverton be off on that history, but
yes,
but like 3 times with Henry Tudor, we saw Perkin Warbeck. We saw somebody rise up in the name of the Earl of Warwick, and then somebody else. So what they're staking that on is sometimes all you need is a figurehead, and it might not even really be them leading the army or running things, but anybody who can basically put their banner, you can put your banner behind them and say, well, this is what we're fighting for. And, so that's probably what they were worried about. Sometimes it's not so much the person who's really, just like as we saw in the Dance with Dragons, it wasn't really, it was really the mother who wanted the crown over the sister getting it. It wasn't really, what was his name? Prince Aemon. It wasn't really him at first. It was his mother. But then there were other people who also wanted to kind of rule through him. And that's just, I think you're always going to have that. There's always going to be people who are power hungry.
Power hungry. Can I have a moment of to run with that thought?
Thirsty. There's always going to be thirsty people.
Thirsty. So I love the showmanship of this. Like I never saw the movie, but I know there's a movie with Heath Ledger like galloping around with a lance. I was just like, he's gorgeous, but I will not watch that movie. So I have to tell you, this is the first time I've ever cared about a tournament with lances. This thank you, George R.R. Martin. Loras getting and Jen, you can comment on this. You like train and ride and competitively do stuff with horses to get him to go like this. Like, so he's like doing all his little,
what he did, what it sounded like to me when he's talking about, what he did was he sidestepped.
Yeah.
That's when a horse literally kind of crosses one foot in front of the other. If you have a reining horse that is well trained, you can sidestep the length of an arena very easily. Yeah.
Well, so what I love about hearing about Loras is how we've got this like alpha super macho. I walk around with a warhammer constantly, and he's like, Loras Tyrell, who wouldn't want him as a son? And he's like so competitive physically, but I love that he has the showmanship of like prancing he's got all the flowers and prancing the horse around, and then he goes up after the mountain. So he uses a mare that's in heat, whereas he knows the Gregor.
So it made his horse was a stallion. And look, there are a lot of people who I wouldn't ride a stallion. That's a horse who has basically not been gelded. Normally they're very hard to handle. And also I've heard stories about, not to get weird or gross or anything, but I read a story in a horse magazine one time about some people who had a stallion that they were able to control. And of course you have one if you're breeding. Obviously we used to have one, but no one ever rode him till we bred several horses to him. And then he was gelded. And then my dad used to ride him chance. But, they will bite you. I read a story about when a woman was on her monthly and the horse smelled her or whatever, and he bit her and almost lifted her off her feet. They can be very aggressive until you.
So of course that's what Gregor's gonna ride. Of course, like the unsurlier the better, the more deadly, unpredictable the better. And I know we're skipping ahead, but for instance, they will afterwards say that, I think it's Sir Barristan who says there's no honor in tricks, because Littlefinger was like, there's no way that he didn't know he had a mare in heat around a stallion. And Renly chimes in, there's small honor in it, but there's that whole big fat purse. And I don't know. I like Renly in these chapters, but no matter what he does moving forward, but I enjoy Renly in these chapters. So that's at the end. But the same thing that they're doing essentially is with Marjorie Tyrell and Robert. So in this analogy, not to call my girl Marjorie a mare in heat because she's not an animal and I don't know what her status is. Listen, she's Loris's sister. But she's Loris's sister who just did that shit with the mayor and they're going to discredit Cersei and be like, oh, by the way, doesn't she look like Lyanna? No, she doesn't look like Lyanna. But Robert, everyone's Bobby boy, Bobby B, got killed by a pig. Oh, I love that he called Tyrek and Lancel and Tyrek. I love that he called him Swineherd and Silk. And I'm like, Swineherd is so accurate, swine, sir. Like, yeah, I get, yeah. Royal swineherders is the right of it. So I guess there's maybe there is a self-awareness there that I should just be nicer to Misha. So yeah, that was my thought of just using tricks, essentially. Like, it would be so easy to trick Robert into agreeing to anything if you could convince him it was like Lyanna.
Yeah, I think what he loved more than anything was the fact that Sir Loras, he kind of dislikes the Lannisters so much that he is blinded by that. Because I think what he loved most about Sir Loras was the fact, he even says that he put him on his butt at the last tourney, and that he said, you should have seen Cersei's face. Every time I think about it, I can still get a laugh out of it.
I love also that Renly essentially, as the reader, we know this, Renly essentially vouches for Tyrion's innocence, because a few chapters ago, Tyrion says, I never bet against my family, when, for instance, they blamed that's the cat's ball on him.
Right.
And I don't know the specifics of it, but basically, as the reader, you hear Renly say, oh, well, if you knew that he was going to win, like, too bad Tyrion isn't here. I could collect on him too, because Jaime fell on his ass. And when Jaime falls on his ass, like, Tyrion has to pay up, because Tyrion always bets on his brother.
Never bets against him. Yeah.
Never bets against him. Yes. And as far as how these brackets are created, I mean, it could be anything or it could be nothing. There could be someone taking bribes. There could be someone not taking bribes.
Well, I think the sample chapter of Sansa in Winds of Winter proves to us that these tournaments can very much so be rigged.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I was going through, it was published, the 3 novellas was published, excuse me, A Night of the Second, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Dunk and Egg stories, the third one, they're very openly, is it the Hedge Knight, who very openly is like, guess what, someone paid me to make sure you were dead.
Yes, that tournament is also that they go 7-on-7. Is that the one you're talking about?
So I think there's at least
That's
2 that I
can
think
too,
of.
The
7-on-7. So, and again, to Robert's point with the melee, like, or melee or whatever, how I always read it and say it different. I can't remember which of the heirs it was, but in a tournament in Ashford, lost the back of his head in a helmet.
Mm-hmm. It was actually Harold Harding's ancestor. I think it was a Harding. Preston Jacobs, excuse me, Sarah.
No, please.
Preston Jacobs did his analysis of the Winds of Winter, the Elaine chapter, some while ago. It was like 7, 8, or 9 parts. And he did a brilliant job of that. So if anyone hasn't seen that and wants like a clear insight into the Winds of Winter, a clearer insight that I could have ever given, then yeah, check out Preston Jacobs, Prepping for Winter, Elaine 1. because I think he did a brilliant job with that.
And you did as well. Misha has her own series called Sansa and the Danger of Winds at Misha Houston YouTube. You guys check that out. But actually, I think it was one of the Targaryens who he looks like he's fine, but he's actually lost his head. The back of his head is missing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was people were really looking forward to him being.
Yeah, people got mad at Dunk.
People were, well, yeah, because they were like, what's a peasant commoner's foot? Because he got in trouble for kicking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He was actually a king. He was actually going to be a king, or and then he protected somebody's, a girl's
Tanzel.
Yeah.
He broke her fingers.
Honor. Exactly. So and then there was 7 on 7, I think. And, right. And then he was fine. He got up and all that, but he was dizzy. And then they took off his helmet and
removed his helm. They realized basically half of his head was gone. And then everybody was mad at Dunk because he got him to fight.
Yeah.
And, they were looking forward to him being a king because he was a just man.
He was just, but he was also, I think, part Dornish as well. Is that true? But I think it just reminded me of Robert trying to go in the melee, and Cersei's like, I'll pay someone to accidentally kill him. I will do whatever. I mean, poor Lancel was compensated. He got to pretend to be Jaime. But
with that, also the honor, like protecting somebody's honor, that's where it can get you. Like you're trying to be noble and good, and like, Ned and so many others, and that king or future king with, when his
Maekar, I think it's Maekar.
I'm not sure. I forgot his name. Yeah, he was trying to be good, and kind of that's what he got for being good. Yeah.
Right.
And the person who accidentally killed him was like, I didn't do it on history. I don't remember doing it. And I'm going to go down in history as a kinslayer. So how about you I'm the 4th son. How about you take my 4th son? That's how we got Aegon the Unlikely, right? I think it was Aegon the Unlikely's dad.
That's Egg. Egg is Aegon. And so he lets him raise Aegon. At the time, there was a lot more sons, but they end up dying.
Too many Targaryens is just as bad as too few.
Right, exactly. But we've gotten a little bit off of Hugh here. Let's go back. Let's get back to the breakfast. And the reason I want to cover the breakfast for sure is because this is one of the only times in the books, as far as I'm concerned, that we see Ned happy.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I don't know if I have the direct text in front of me, but basically after the breakfast, or they start the breakfast, and Robert is honest with him. We talked about Robert saying, you know what, I'm sure it was my son. I'm sorry. And then he says, oh, look what kinging has done to me. Again, man, baby, everything is other people's fault. But sorry. All right, what we're talking about is they get very nostalgic about what happened at the Vale. John Aaron raising them at the Vale with a bunch of other boys. I just see all these like big, brutish, noble boys that are being like fostered and trained to fight. And something about an orange fight, and that they're throwing oranges all over, and wasn't that so fun? And Ned was like, this is my friend. This is my friend that I could go to and say, Cersei and Jaime are behind Bran's attempted murder. They killed John Aaron. Like he thinks for the moment that the food even tastes better. He's like, I can go and if Tywin dare rouse the West, Robert will smash him on his warhammer just like he did Rhaegar. And it's like, not to pervert your own house words, dude, but like, you sweet summer child, no, that's not how it is going to happen at all. Misha, defend Robert.
Well, I mean, I pretty much, did all I could to defend Robert. I mean, there are things that I really love about him. I love the fact that he's a great warrior, But as far as him, being a ruler, he just wasn't meant for that. And that's certainly an aspect of all of our rulers in this story, such as Danny. She, was perfectly built to take over. But once she got to Marine and Enslaver's Bay, you can really see that she is really not fit for ruling. She can conquer, but she can't rule. It takes a leader, in my opinion, must have heart and must be selfless and humble. And there are so many arrogant people here, so many arrogant lords, and so many arrogant kings and queens, and so on and so forth. And no one really has the heart of a leader.
Misha, we're going down a rabbit hole, and I will continue with enthusiasm. So I'm so sorry, Jen, but I do feel like Danny has heart as a leader. I do.
I feel like Danny has compassion, but I feel like she's the same a little bit as Robert. Easy for her to fight because she's working towards something, but once she's in there, she's very restless. She's really not a good ruler during peace. She's
it's kind of,
they say that about presidents too. There's presidents that are great when we're in war or a crisis, and then there's presidents that are great when we're at peace. And I think the same would go for kings. Let me go here real quick.
It's kind of sad because Robert, he doesn't strike me as somebody who can submit to anything. But then, so he's kind of torn. Like, he doesn't want to be a ruler, but he doesn't want to follow. That's why when he says he wanted to be the sellsword, that makes most sense to me, because I don't see him, well, he's a ruler and he sucks at it, but I don't see him as a follower either. So he's miserable being a ruler. He would be miserable having to follow somebody. Like, when anybody says anything to him, he's like, your king is talking, like things like that. He asserts his power. So he would be miserable follower. I'm thinking, yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
He's like Gregor, and then I'll stop talking again. Basically, Gregor, another giant animal man baby, if I could put that in there, things don't go his way, and he decapitates his fucking horse. Like, excuse my language.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah. That was sick. That
I don't want to get
to me
flagged. So come at me, YouTube. I got it all.
We don't have any.
I have an opinion about Gregor. I just don't see a baby, a whining baby. I see Gregor could game. I see a monster.
A monster. I guess my point is, Misha, I don't see a baby in a way that exhibits compassion. The way I'm saying baby is if it's in reference to an adult who shouldn't be acting that way, it's with contempt. So, for instance, we see John Aaron, and he's like breastfeeding. How old is he? 7, 8 years old.
Robin.
Well, Robin. I think he's Robert. I think his name is Robert after Robert.
It actually, I believe you're right. I believe it's Robert, and they call him Robin.
Sweet Robin. Yeah, the Sweet Robin. All right. Well, the Sweet Robin decides he's like not having a good day and throws his oats at like both Littlefinger and I think it's Maester Coleman. I know that Littlefinger gets out of the way. Maester Coleman does not. And basically that's just what Robert Baratheon did to Selmy, was like, get this fucking arm around my face or I'll kill you. Like, he says, I'll kill you. He didn't say the effing arm around my face. I won't say those words again. I'm sorry.
You're cool.
All right. So, but he's just throwing things around. And that's where that's what I mean when I say man baby. It's just a child. It's scary though, when they weigh 300 pounds or 400 pounds and they're all muscle.
Children, like when they're having tantrums, they're physically and mentally, and so they're just not able to control themselves. It's not like you can say to your 3-year-old, stop it.
And there are some people who are like that.
You have control of yourself. No, it's not even English. No language.
We used to have a saying, this is way back in the day when I was a little wilder than I am now. You don't fight a crazy person because they do not care. They do not care. A crazy person will be the strongest person you ever step to in your life. They have some, when they're in a rage, they have some physical strength. And going with that, I want to also just say, look, y'all, Robert's straight an alcoholic. He's got some, and so do a lot of people in the game. He's got a psychological issues because, like you said, he wouldn't be happy with what he has. He's the grass is always greener type person. Y'all know these people.
He's invented. He didn't, at this point, I mean, I can feel bad for him at age 15, 16, 17. I'm sure that was devastating. They're 35, 40. How old are they now? Get over it. Like, whatever you're remembering doesn't even exist. And I was going to say Sean Bean agrees, but was Eddard Stark says you didn't know, you saw the porcelain, you didn't see the iron underneath. Is that what he says? He says something like that.
Yes,
like,
that's exactly what
you didn't even know her. Can you please?
You didn't know her like I did. You saw the beauty. You didn't see the iron underneath.
The iron, exactly.
And I guess I do feel sorry for Robert a little bit in that regard, because clearly he's not been able to move on since the death of Lyanna. Whereas it's not like Eddard wakes up every day happy about it, but I mean, he's got his wife, he's got his kids, he's got Jon Snow, he's got the wildlings, he's got a whole job.
He was told that, and we were told that, not Ned, Robert remembers. Like, he cannot, like, that man will not forget. He's like an elephant or something. I mean, they didn't say that, but like, he will remember. So he cannot move on. That's why I'm thinking he keeps remembering Lyanna and this and that, and anything that anybody does to him, he will remember it, but also he cannot snap out of other things. He's stuck somewhere. And also with that, we all see how somebody is hating on, let's say, Sansa or Bran or whoever, like right there. But let's just look at it. We as in general, like, we are hating on the children and how they're acting and what their decisions are. But when we look at the adults over there, they're not much better. I mean, the kids, the little ones, Arya and everybody else, they have the thing going for them that they are the kids. I mean, come on, 11-year-old, let's give the kid a break, okay? It's not even going through puberty. How can we judge them so harshly?
But we've all been 11, though. We've all been 11.
Yeah. But then again, adults, there's not much excuse, like, for acting the way they're acting. And I see more hate on the kids versus hate on the adults. And sometimes it kind of evens out, and it shouldn't be evened out. Kids should be judged differently. That's why, but again, this, made up world in Westeros, right? But I think I'm sometimes forgetting that they're different age, their decisions are made at different times.
Their decisions are made in different times, where the average life expectancy, unless you're Maester Aemon, literally frozen at the wall, you're not going to be 100 years old.
All right, you guys, I want to give a shout out to Moni G in the chat. Maria Hill has joined us. And also Fred, Targaryen, Uncle Daddy. Hi. Let's move on from this and let's go to the tournament. Let's get back into this tournament.
Ooh, I lost my notes. Okay.
Is the first one we see Jaime and the Hound?
Sure, yes. We do see Jaime and the Hound. The only note I took is that Jaime gets his helm mangled such that he cannot get it off his head, and that's what happened with Maekar or whoever. I've decided his name is Maekar. Look it up. Tell me I'm wrong. But like the dude who's trying to get his helmet off can't get his helmet off, and then
when they get it off, his head is smashed. But let's go somewhere else with this.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Here's the thing.
You can't get up. Okay, yeah.
Jaime Lannister was back on his feet.
Yes,
but his ornate lion's head was twisted around and dented in his fall. And now he could not get it off. Could this allude to him changing his face, changing sides, or to him becoming a victim of the faceless men? He was led away blind to the blacksmith, blind and stumbling. Jaime is blind technically right now to Cersei, to things going on around him, or becomes that way, and will stumble, but he will find his way.
So I thought of that where people are laughing at him or too scared to laugh at him. Like if Tywin was there, no one would laugh. Tywin,
no, they wouldn't laugh. You're right.
Aunt Jenna says, "You listening, Aunt Gemma, right?" So yeah, and then that's where we have Renly saying, well, listen, Jaime was stumped, like, too bad Tyrion wasn't here.
Yeah, I would have won twice as much.
Would have won twice. And so we as the reader are like, oh yeah, that's Cat's fucked.
Yeah, that's exactly what that did. That led me to think about, damn, this is really all blowing up at the same time, just in different places.
So then we've got Gregor, and yes.
And then when you were mentioning blacksmith, I kind of saw it as foreshadowing too, because who knows, maybe in the future they're going to be meeting whenever. I mean, why would they mention that? They could have said, he could have not used the word blacksmith. He has, great vocabulary. He didn't have to use that word. And he used it. So I'm wondering if it's going to have something to do, like, for the future, when Jaime and Gendry are going to, have something.
Marie says, Game of Theories with Marie, y'all check out her channel. The Lannisters are a twisted family. And though Jaime tries to get free, he cannot and needs help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there you go, right there.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I think Brienne is going to be the one, to
exactly.
His times with Brienne is going to make him, reevaluate his life, even though it was horrible what he suffered. But I can't really feel too bad for him losing his hand, even though that was horrible, and I don't wish that on anyone. But I think losing his hand, losing a part of himself, helped him, figure out who he is. And when he did come back to King's Landing, everything had changed. Everything had changed in him. His interactions with his father, his interactions with his sister, his whole identity had changed.
And I love it. I love how his identity's changed, because he knows so much, and then all of a sudden he's gonna use his position and his verbal ability. Like, you have to be smart to be funny, and Jaime's consistently funny.
Very funny and very witty.
And he's very but like, imagine if you're that smart and you actually gave a shit. He's like, I have hope in Jaime.
The fun out of the room.
What's that?
Moni G said, because Tywin sucks the funny out of the room.
Yeah.
And what struck me about the Jaime thing was when it said the helmet was turned and you could not see his face. Well, Jaime does have two sides to him. He's two-faced, if you will, in the fact that when he comes back after his experiences, we're going to see another side to Jaime, and we all know this. And he just needs a little bit of help, which we all know that he gets the help with Brienne.
But right now we're like, oh, good, the bad guy got the helmet stuck on his head. The guy who threw the kid out of the window.
But it's great symbolism there, It's great symbolism, him having his head turned around by his family all these years, and needing some sort of help to get his head straight again, which is Brienne, as I said before. So yeah, absolutely, it is foreshadowing. There's a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of clues as to what's going to happen, and it's a shame that we couldn't see it. I know I certainly couldn't see some things happening, but it's looking back, it's just been like, oh yeah, that's right. I see and hear myself saying, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. This is a sign.
It's fun, isn't it? They're fun to reread. It's fun. Like,
John Cannon says, welcome, John. John Cannon says Riverland bandits are going to hang him. Well, we don't know
which one
yet.
Which one, sir? Which one? So, speaking of Riverland bandits, Anguy, we learn about this little nobody from the Dornish Marches who outdoes Balon Swan and Zala Barzo, the Summer Islander with the feathers. And Ned says, Ned has Jory recruit him to be a part of his personal guard, and Anguy is drunk and like, no, I'm not going to do that. and Anguy ends up with Lightning Lord Beric Dondarrion and Thoros of Myr, who won the melee. Like, honestly, would you hit a Myrish priest? I mean, if a Moorish priest with a sword that's on fire was hitting, I would let him win too. So guess what? He won the melee. And but that's all. But I thought it was kind of funny how Anguy was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to work for Eddard Stark. But then he kind of ends up working for Eddard Stark when they're outlaws, because they realized that the king's justice they were going out to give was for Ned, but now Ned's dead, and now it's Joffrey. And so guess what? They're just going to be the Brotherhood without banners. And he had thought of this in book 1. This was like I'm not going to say I read this book in 1996. I don't even think I knew what, like, I'm sure I didn't know Game of Thrones was a thing in 1996. I'm sure of it.
Nor did I.
No. So, but it's so interesting for me.
And now that I think about it, Sarah, now that I know that Anguy will be at that tournament, now I see why the Brotherhood Without Banners has such a close eye on the Lannisters, because of Anguy. Anguy was right there in the midst of it. So as far as as Feast for Crows go and how they're circling Jaime's camp, I really now see why they know so much about what's going on with the Lannisters. I didn't even see that before.
And it's okay. So there's on Twitter. I think it's like a Song of Ice and Fire tweet through, and they've been recently covering that piece where Jaime goes out to talk with his cousins in the phrase. And what were you saying, Misha? I'm sorry. It was related to that. It's gone. Okay.
Just relax.
Oh, the Brotherhood Without Banners, Brotherhood Without Banners, and how they're everywhere.
Yeah, how they're everywhere, circling Jaime's camp in the Feast for Crows. Especially around Riverrun.
You hear? Is it Devin? Devin who meets with him? Devin is like, he's the one who's talking about, I don't like how they talk about Amaray Frey, Gatehouse Amy. I don't like the way they talk about her, but that's Lancel's wife. And so they're like, it's a lightning lord. It's a marsh lord. It's a marsh lord, or they call him. What was his name? God damn it! I wrote it down on a post-it somewhere. A marcher lord. A marcher lord. If you can believe that a marcher lord is calling the shots in the Riverlands, and we're Westerland people, like, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of people who are asked to be doing jobs that it's not. There's no winners in jobs like this. It's just. Oh wait, we're still talking about Eddard 7. Back up. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Lots of people mentioned in this tournament end up in the Brotherhood Without Banners. Moving on. Who else would like to speak?
Something else about the people that it mentions in the tournament. In Feast, we get they talk about they talk about Summer Islanders, I believe. Don't they talk about the specific bows that they have? Like, so the fact that he beat Jalabar Zoe, and then he beat a member of the King's Guard, and then also, yeah, it's just interesting how they all hook up later. It is. And Fred said, Anguy is gone from the Riverlands by Feast. He accompanies Edric Dane to Starfall.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little rusty.
That's okay.
When it comes over, but I can't be right all the time. So,
Nobody can be.
But
no, it is. It makes you think. It makes you wonder. Here's this great, and this is what I thought when I was rereading today. Here's this great archer who beats out a Kingsguard and a Summer Islander. And he's a nobody from Dorne.
And we're known, the Summer Islanders are known for, like, Alaris.
Yeah, Alaris
is part
of saying. In Feast, we've got Alaris.
They're known to be good. So, sorry.
That's why I said, doesn't a special type of bow come from there that everybody covets or something?
Don't crucify me. Is it a werewood bow? I'm not entirely sure.
No. It's something else. But anyway, that's just, yeah. I'm just starting to wonder if this, what I'm starting to think is Dornish conspiracy. But that's, a whole
It happens
other thing.
to all of us. Yeah, it happens to all of us. Ladies who are on the panel and chat who I am not looking at, and I'm sorry, but I'll go back and look at them because YouTube records it now. Do we want to continue? Is there anything else in the tournament we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about, we talk about Jamie, talk about Renly, Gregor, Loras. We didn't talk about Clegane Bowl 1.0. Everyone's carrying on about Clegane Bowl, Clegane Bowl. Clegane Bowl happened already.
Let's talk about Clegane Bowl 1.0.
Yeah, because that's still part of the tourney, right? Or,
right.
Yeah, because giant man-baby monster doesn't get his way. He decapitates his horse, and then he goes after Loras. Can you imagine if that motherfucker survived killing Loras? There would be the Westerlands against the Tyrells. That would not do well to kill. I
think he would be killed, like, if he would kill... Because he couldn't. He shouldn't do anything after that. He was on a horse, right? So he was kind of lost.
Yeah, and so he knocked. I think Loras got knocked down, and he went to go like Loras.
No,
I think
Loras. No, Loras
Tell
was
me
the
then.
one who. Yeah, from what I remember, Loras was the one who did the trick with the horse.
Yes.
And that's how Sir Gregor fell because the horse couldn't be steady for whatever reason. And that's when he got angry, chopped off the horse's head, and then started charging for Loras, smashed him with the sword. The Loras falls down. There's almost this, final blow. And that's when
the Hound jumps in.
Yeah.
Andor jumps in. And Sansa's like, I knew he would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in a way, like if Sir Gregor would have killed Loras, I think everybody else would kill Sir Gregor, and there wouldn't be any plotline with him. So we needed him to survive. We needed Hound to save the day by saving Loras, so that Gregor wouldn't kill him and wouldn't be killed as executed as the punishment.
One of the things I like about that moment is because it's through Eddard's eyes, and he says, she's like, poor Sansa, I'm sorry, I'm unobjectively, Sansa says, she's like, oh my God, don't let the Hound hurt it, don't let the mountain hurt him. And he says, oh, it's they're tournament lances, dear, they split upon impact, they aren't designed to kill anybody. And I'm like, you were just at Sir Hugh's,
and he remembers that actually, and she
saw it happen in front of her, and they put dirt on it, the blood stain on the right, like they were both there.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh no one will get hurt here. And it's just like this the only thing happy about this chapter is the complete and utter denial that these people are in. Like, oh, I'm Robert. I've done a terrible job, and guess what? I need John Aaron. I need you. And let's talk about. He's like, oh, you had a better claim because he was like by genetics somehow like Nath Targaryen. Like, I thought we were wiping out Targaryens. Why does Targaryenism give him a claim? That's sort of something that is hard for me my brain to chew on. Yeah. Does anyone have anything to say to that, or I'll keep talking?
I just want to say this, and I should have mentioned it way ago, but I wasn't thinking because I forget stuff too. Marie just mentioned, and another thing about Sansa, she knew the Hound would beat Jamie. Remember at the very beginning, that's the
and
first.
And that's when Renly's like, Peter goes, if you knew, why didn't you say something?
Yeah. And it's like, hey, if you knew, why'd you let me lose my money or whatever?
And so that he doesn't lose any more money on his bets. Yeah.
And so then after the I can't remember. Somehow the Knight of Flowers is presented as the winner. And Sansa Sansa is like,
there was going to be one more joust because
she's like,
be the winner now. And her dad and Ned goes, no, there's going to be one more joust. And instead of letting that happen, Loras goes up and says, you know, you saved me, sir, and basically gives it to the Hound.
And Eddard says Sansa had the right of it.
Yeah, and then
like,
Peter, and then what you said,
you can sort of get why Sansa is going to be like, I sort of am a few steps to my dad in this world. And it doesn't mean that she's horrible or that he's stupid. It's just that they are different. And it's a shame they couldn't have worked together a little more closely. But anyway, anything else about the tournament specifically? Ned, you were saying, we were talking about raising one thought I had was about raising the child you have, not the child you want, where Robert is like, Loras is a kid you'd want because Loras apparently is like really good at arms and does what he's supposed to. And you got to rate, but then he has Joffrey who like cuts open cats and he doesn't understand at all. Cut me off.
Creepy AF. You know what I mean?
And then
that's like stuff you hear that serial killers have been doing.
Yeah, it's like not every person who kills an animal kills a person, but most people who have killed people have killed animals. You know, like domesticated. I'm not talking about for survival, like just for fun, like pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, creepy AF.
I also wanted to add here, there was I think something that Robert says to Ned. He says something like, you never could lie for love nor honor. So we kind of see that later on. That sentence plays out where Ned couldn't, like he was in jail for a long, or in the cell for a long time. He couldn't lie for love of his family or honor, but then he kind of goes against it and he does lie. He takes back the words.
He takes back what he said at the Sept of Baelor, but also he's kept Jon Snow's identity a secret for how old is Jon? 14, 15? He can lie for shit. Because I don't think any other lord could be like, hey, guess what? I'm raising a Targaryen kid. What are you gonna say about it? This is my bastard. No one will question the status of my bastard.
He's not taking too much pleasure in the lying, but he sees that a good lie can go a long way. And for the sake of Jon and, for the sake of his family, I'm sure he'd do anything. I mean, he proved that he would. So Ned is, even though he's a good man, he's not above human frailties. He's not above lying and killing and doing what needs to be done. Even though he tries his best. He's just
He has his code.
Being able to do something and choosing to do the right thing.
Well, and he says if you're gonna execute that little girl, Daenerys Targaryen, look at her face, get her last words. It's like the North is, if you're gonna the man who passes the sentence swings the sword. Like you have to be able to understand what it's like to take someone's life if it's your job to take someone's life, instead of being like, oh, Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
Yeah, it's not a small thing. If you're gonna do it, have the courtesy to look them in the eye and hear what they have to say.
And it's a reasonable relationship with death as opposed to a punishment that.
Yeah, and may I say this in regards to the show, and Sansa and her execution of Ramsay and Baelish. Now, I'm glad that Ramsay is gone, but I would have liked to have seen her kill the man herself. I mean, she didn't need to feed them to the dogs to make me happy.
That's the payoff I wanted, Misha.
Yeah.
I wanted to see her swing a sword herself and cut his head off.
Right. And even in regards to Peter Baelish, she pronounced him a dead man. And yet it was Arya who did the deed. So
has
ignored what her father had said. And even afterwards, when they were standing on the parapet, Arya and Sansa, that is something that Eddard wouldn't do either. He would go to the gods would. to pray and to cleanse himself of the death and clean off his blade and remember the person and think about what happened here today
and why he did it and all that.
But
Yeah.
I think Sansa is so she's more of a Tali. That's why. I mean, she
Well,
keeps,
now, and we're getting far off here, so I want to say this, and then we gotta get back on track.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to ask something about
between
that.
John and Sansa, where they both say that they don't believe in gods anymore. Basically,
Yeah.
they've both gotten to a point where they either believe the gods are cruel or don't listen anyway. And there's several parallels where they both kind of think that, and I think that's where we're getting the disconnect. Neither one of them really pray anymore.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to, before we skip to the other section here, there are I think a couple things I wanted to mention quickly. In the beginning, they said either Ned or whoever was talking with him, he said none of us are ready. And then he said like, oh, for what? And he said none of us are ready for death. And then it's ill fortune to look at the face of death too. So again, it's again foreshadowing more of death and all that nobody's ready. Like Ned wasn't ready. Like it was kind of out of the blue. Like nobody was ready for him to die. And then another thing, kind of, I wonder what it means. I was trying to think about it and then I forgot. But I have you guys. So what do you think about that sentence? It was said, night's beauty fades at dawn. Do you think it, I mean, again, dawn, it's mentioned again, and I'm thinking, does it mean anything to you when it's said over there? It was in the beginning. It said, night's beauty fades at dawn. Does it ring a bell about anything?
Well, I mean, if I can say this, I think that whatever is done in the dark will be brought
Don't come to light.
That's pretty much what I think of it. And a lot of things were brought to light in this. You know, Jamie and Cersei was brought to light. Littlefinger's involvement, you know, in the beginning with Liza Aaron and the Moon Door and all of that was brought to light. And there will be other things brought to light as well. Theon and his story was brought to light. So, I mean, whatever anyone is trying to hide in this story, it's going to come out. And I just think that maybe it could be just that. And not that I'm saying that it couldn't be a foreshadowing of something specific, but I'm just thinking in general as a whole, you know, as the story as a whole, whatever these people are trying to hide will come out sooner or later.
Right, so, I agree. And I did notice that, and I think it probably means something bigger than what I'm catching on, but I'm a slow learner, but I learn.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, we've been rereading this at least. We read it at least once or twice, and I'm sure it takes a couple times to remember something. Plus, he has those clues everywhere. It's like he wrote in code. There's one more thing, and that's actually one of the first sentences I wrote down. It said, it had been for his sake the boy had died. And they're talking about that knight, that newly knighted
Sir Hugh, who was ill-equipped, ill-experienced, and
because he participated in the hands tourney.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the way when I thought about it is, it's called hands tourney, and obviously Ned was against it. He kind of didn't see the point of it, waste of money and all that. But in a way, he didn't just die at the hands tourney. He died because Ned was digging for evidence.
And
so that's why it's kind of a double meaning.
Well, Barry says as much in the very end, but we're getting there.
I was gonna say, but maybe he knows that Liza poisoned him, or maybe he knows he saw Cersei and Jamie having sex,
that he's been working for him for 4 years. Like he has.
So
I'm sure he's seen everything.
Whenever Gregor's around,
he knew more than he said.
People go missing, and like we hear this extensive backstory of Gregor's. Like, oh, guess what? Everyone on his keep goes missing, and he inherits everything. Like they die under queer, which I mean like unexpected circumstances, and they like anyone in his path dies, and then they invite him to tournaments and melees, and he kills people. And you're kind of yeah.
It's later on at the end of the chapter when Varys is there. It's kind of given, but without being stated exactly what happened. So that's the last part of the chapter. I think, are we at the breakfast right now? Or
where we're at basically is at the end of the melee. And
I was gonna say, if you had something to go back to breakfast, we could go back and talk to breakfast, but technically breakfast happened before the fight.
Oh, that's right, because it's kind of like back and forth. They were in the beginning, that they ate something, right? Or
no, just us. Just me not having a good sense of time. Sorry.
I want to talk about something because you get this a lot on YouTube. You see this a lot where people are matching people up. Like, who would win in this fight? Who would win on this
am
fight?
I entered? Did someone enter me?
No. Like the characters from the book, girl. Who would win between Prince Oberyn and
like brackets. Yeah, that's idiot. Well, I just sounded like such a judgmental bitch. I'm like, idiots get very upset about these sort of things.
Speaking of people getting very upset about this, I'm on Amino the other day.
Oh, I love Amino.
I'm on Amino, and I vote in this poll. Like, who do I think would win between a fight? And watch, the chat's probably going to jump on me too. Who will win in this fight between Barristan Selmy and Jaime Lannister? And I chose Jaime, and I said Jaime because he fights a little dirty. And the guy jumped all over me, had a quote from the book, and I was just like, well, shit, why'd you even make the poll? If you just wanted everybody to come and agree with you.
Because it's fun to argue.
Only one who picked Jaime. But I just want to read this little quote.
Yes,
I don't remember your name, but I'm not going to be a haterade anyway. But I'm going to call this out. You can pick lots of quotes out from the book to either go your way or go that way. If you like, I will ask Jory to take over your lessons or have a quiet word with Sir Barristan. He was the finest sword in the Seven Kingdoms in his youth.
He's got a more traditional upbringing. Whereas like Syrio has got her jumping around like and chasing cats.
So she says, no, I want Syrio.
Because
Arya has stayed behind at the castle to do one of her dancing lessons, but she comes down to eat with them at the banquet. And
it's so funny that
a terrible dancer.
and it's like we're so forced to consume, and maybe listen, I'm not speaking for you, Jen, I'm not speaking for you, Misha or Elmar, but I'm like, we get so forced this dialogue where it's like, oh, Arya's like this and Sansa's like this, and they're such polar opposites, and it's just so much conflict all the time. And it's like, you know what? No, they're sisters and they grew up together, and we have this moment where they're like sharing it. Poor dum-dum Ned, he's had a nice breakfast, and he's like, even Sansa and Arya were getting along.
If anybody
each other all damn day.
And they probably got along way more often than they didn't. And fuck, I guess it's common knowledge. I have 3 girls, and it's like they get along most of the time, but no, there's crazy things that go down.
Exactly. Anybody who has Go ahead, Misha.
I think the reason that Arya and Sansa are so against each other is basically because they're afraid for each other. They're both choosing very different paths, and each one of them can see the faults of the other.
I was going to say, they complement each other so well. Yeah. There's a movie, Misha, I'll email to you. I don't know it, but it's this movie where these 2 girls, it's like post-apocalyptic, but there's 2 girls and they complement each other so well. And it reminded me of Arya and Sansa. And
that's why their one is passing the sentence, and the other one is swinging the sword. They're acting like one.
And like but they're both talking about needle. Like Arya didn't pick a random name. She picked what her sister was really good at, which was the needle, and like Cat of the Canals. Like,
okay. Let's go to the chat. Game of Theories with Marie. This foreshadows the Faceless Men and Nymeria finding Cat. Arya is chasing cats.
Awesome. That is a good
Very
one.
good,
Yeah.
Marie.
Yeah.
We always love to have Game of Theories with Marie in the chat.
All right, say it
Brilliant.
again for me. Jen, time out.
Where are you going? Tomorrow we're going to chase cats.
Basically, what Jen was saying is that now Arya is chasing cats in the canal, and later on Nymeria will be chasing Cat, as in Catelyn, or Cat, how she's being called by Ned. So it's kind of, again, foreshadowing. But I wanted to bring up one more thing here. I didn't hear it the first time. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't get it the first time. Then when I reread the chapter, it made more sense. Normally, when we think about Arya, we think about fighting, right? She would like to see how things are done when people fight. And Sansa would like to see, more feminine things. But here we see Arya dancing, and we see Sansa looking at fights. That kind of was interesting, like the two girls, but again, one should be, like, Arya technically should be there watching how people are fighting, learning this.
Those are showmanship clowns. Like, that's not
but like archery, I'm not talking about, because there were different, I guess, sports over there, archery and swords and whatnot, not just jousting. So technically, Arya, I would think she should be there watching this stuff, how it happens, what not to make, what mistakes not to make. And obviously, dancing is not like dancing, prancing around. It's dancing, fighting. But the word dancing brought about, Sansa, nice, pretty dancing things,
and
versus
Sansa
Arya fighting.
Cannot even imagine the fact that Arya's not actually dancing; she's sword fighting. That's like.
Yeah, I wonder. So
she
she
must be
know,
such
right?
a shitty dancer. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
So what do you think, guys? Does she know that Sansa
I don't
that
think
Arya
she
is
knows.
actually
I don't think she knows.
fighting?
They're so different.
And also, in this universe, dance is an adjective for fight.
Oh, does she? Oh.
No, Sansa does not know. I don't believe.
Okay, because
but we know, not only because we know, but because in this world, dance is an adjective for fight.
Well, guess what? Can we bring that to this world? Because I grew up going to ballet lessons. Does that mean I know how to fight?
Then when we're at the banquet, it talks about Sansa being off listening to some singers tell basically a story about the dance with dragons. And this foreshadows the fact that Sansa is going to be caught up in another dance with dragons, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maria's like, and girl, I got that from you. I didn't come up with that. Thank you. I did think it was very, telling though that that out of all the things George could have put, the bear and the maid, whatever, we know that he usually the music choice that he picks, it's got a little hidden meaning, or the story that anybody tells, even in the TV show, the story, the play that we see, it's all foreshadowing and hidden meanings there. Mm-hmm. So I should have known.
So one thing
that sex equals dance as well. Okay, yeah, I give you that.
So what? I forgot what I was going to talk about. You threw me off.
Sorry. Aggie says I would see Sansa dancing and twirling cats before Arya. Exactly,
no.
Aggie. Sansa really should have known that she wasn't taking dancing lessons, but kind of how we are as people, we get so caught up in our own stuff that sometimes when we're in a space where we're so caught up in dealing with our own things, we don't even notice something that is right in front of us that is not right.
Guess what? It's very not that often that we get chapters that are back to back where we know that they took place yesterday and today. Sansa, we know what just happened to her yesterday. We know that her septa, Joffrey gave her wine, and all of a sudden her septa's sick and can't come out. We know that she had that horrific, empathetic, terrifying whatever bonding experience she had with the Hound. And that's where she was like, oh, I knew he'd win. So Sir Loras saves the day. And that's when, and Eddard's like, no, you dum-dum, they have to tilt again. And he's like, but Sansa had the right of it. And so like, when people are like, people do not respect, Sansa did not respect Ned properly, but it's like Sansa also sort of had a respect for how things work down there. Not that it necessarily was good, but it was, I don't know. She's gonna do great things, that Sansa. Right.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
But this is a great growing example of her growth too. I mean, normally she would be like,
she cried.
Yeah, normally she would like, oh, what's his name? Whoever is prettier over there would win. Like Jamie, Jamie's gonna win, or Lancel's gonna win because he's a beautiful
Gregor.
She
knew that Gregor, she's fresh off of the night of, she's fresh off, like she woke up thinking, she woke up thinking about the Hound being held into the fire by Sir Gregor, and she sees someone as gorgeous as Loras up against Sir Gregor, and she's like, oh my God, Daddy won't hurt him, right? And he's like, oh no, they use like fake lances, and they're like, he knows he's lying, and that girl is like, I just saw someone bleed out in front of me yesterday, and I wasn't even allowed to have a fucking reaction about it. Like,
so I agree, Aggie. Sansa is self-aware, but she's still got that. She's still holding on to that little bit of childishness, wanting comfort from her father.
Well, she's what, 11? She has not flowered.
They're all going to turn out good.
She has not flowered.
Misha, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Yes,
Oh,
Misha.
well, I'm here. I'm listening. And to be honest with you, I kind of didn't read the chapter.
Misha, but you'll be like, Sarah, you're an idiot, and here's why. Go ahead.
Well, I don't.
No, I was like, we appreciate that honor there. We appreciate that honor, Misha.
Well, I mean, everyone has a varying opinion about what's going on here, and there are so many, foreshadowings. I certainly agree about the foreshadowings. I certainly agree about the hidden messages and meanings, and in the very few sentences in certain chapters. It's not a pure foreshadowing through all of it, but there are little pieces, little sentences here and there that point to certain foreshadowings, and they are prevalent throughout this book series. And I don't want to really say that anyone is wrong, because I can't really say for sure that I'm right. So basically, I pretty much agree with everyone here. I mean, I have my own opinion, but I certainly agree that there are foreshadowings everywhere. I love the story. I wish that I had read this, but I'm telling you now, I did not read the chapter. The day
Misha,
got away from me today.
There's people who come into this with an aspect of like, I'm going to cross-check it against what I know about medieval history. And there's people who come in and they're like, I'm going to cross-check it with what I know about dragons. Mm-hmm. And there's people who come in who just are like, I'm going to cross-check it with what I know about human beings. And I hope we all sort of fall into that category at some level. And it seems like you do. So yeah. I don't know that it matters if it were like, oh no, Jon Snow was the 98th commander of Night's Watch, not 99th, you dummy. Like, do any of us think that way? Like, I hope none of us think that way.
No, absolutely not. And
no.
Fred Targaryen's Uncle Daddy said he hates Sansa. Went on to say, if Sarah can hate Bobby B, I can hate Sansa. Yes, you can. We agree to disagree here on this channel, but I got to tell you, you're up against 4 female loving Sansa fans, right here.
I certainly love Sansa from the book. Oh,
I'm being trolled. I'm being trolled. I'm being trolled.
And I mean, I just feel like, as far as Robert Baratheon goes, he just wasn't cut out for being king. And it just shows, with year after year.
I'm so mad at it. Okay. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about. Misha, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, he's suffering a loveless marriage too. Like, and I think we all can relate, at least in part, what it's like to be in some type of loveless relationship. How hard that could be on a woman, but that can be hard on a man as well. And certainly being married to Cersei, knowing in the back of your mind that she may be having an affair with other men. Her
But
brother.
Misha.
Yeah.
She's fucking her brother. That's horrible and disgusting. But guess what? He has bastards in every single kingdom.
Yeah.
He's unapologetically whorish. He humiliates her at every opportunity he gets.
Well, I mean, as I said, I can't feel too sorry for Cersei. I mean,
Really? All right.
Sorry, but
This is
we have to disagree on that.
no, I know, and this is why it's good. I like having friends who disagree with me because I learn from them. But okay, we're gonna.
In that world over there, it was normal. In that world, it was normal. Like in our world, like some time ago, for women to, you know, the man could do whatever he wanted, and he could have bastards and whatever. And
I'm sorry, we talking about the past? Or we talking about right now? I'm sorry.
Oh, depends how you look at it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was the norm. That was the norm. You know,
back when?
Yeah.
How many hundreds of years ago? And it's not appropriate now. You were saying it's not appropriate now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that LMR is saying that it was right. Of course, it wasn't. Right.
Oh, it's not right. It's just a fact.
Standard.
Yeah.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, like I'm coming off a super bitter multiple situation.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I can't, you know, but if I had to give some sympathy, I would just leave my sympathy.
Really, Sarah? I didn't catch that feeling from you at all. I'm
coming back. I'm going to the bathroom. Have fun talking about being normal without me. I love you all.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a couple questions here, and then let's get to Varys, shall we? All right, John. This question, you know, first can be last can be first is my answer for you. But question. The last hero fights against the others. After the long night ends, Bran builds the wall. Bran is considered one of the heroes. So why is the guy who comes before him called the last hero? Did you guys get that question?
Yeah, let me scroll up a little bit and reread it.
Well, can I say this, John C? I don't really want to answer this question because I could very well be wrong. And the reason why I'm not going to answer that, because number one, I don't know too much about that subject. And number two, I don't think any one of us would know so much about this subject because this was before, you know, written chronologicals, anything that someone could read. It's all just theory. It's all just theory when we go back to the others and the first man and the last hero. No one really knows what went on back then. I mean, they say that in one of the books. Was it A World of Ice and Fire? I think it was that book. No one really knows what happened in that long night, in those first few years when manhood, you know, came into existence. So, I mean, John C., I wish that I could answer the question, but I really don't know the answer because when I tried to read on these certain subjects, there was nothing there for it. So I can't really answer that question.
Okay. You may not hate a Stark, Fred. Yeah. You may not.
Yeah, if anyone else has the answer, please tell me.
You know, the thing with that.
Go ahead, Eleanor.
Yeah, no, just the thing with the Bran, because Bran is such a common name back then. So, again, there's so many theories on that, and, you know, time loops and whatever you want to call it. So many theories that explain it. But one thing that is very common is that Bran is a common name. So we at this point,
John.
Yeah. So like at this point, we can all argue if this is the same Bran, if the mind is the same, or if it's just the same family, different Bran. They're all there's always there. It seems like there's always a Bran in at least one generation. So there's always somebody called Bran, and all those Brans are being mixed up, and even couple hundred years will get the lines mixed up, and thousands of years will really be mixed up. I mean, let's look at our history. Can we go back 1,000 years? Can royalty go back? I guess it could.
They can.
But if we're talking 10,000 years, we don't even have written history well, kind of written that is 10,000 years. So we have pictures from 10,000 years ago. So, you know, anybody could argue anything about who Bran was or which Bran it was.
And, and may I say this, as far as the foreshadowing goes, when Littlefinger was killed, I thought it was very ironic that Bran was the one to help Sansa and Arya find out the truth. Because as I recall, Brandon, their uncle Brandon, was the one who sliced open his chest, and the reason that Littlefinger had the scar. So I think, as far as the foreshadowing goes, I think everyone, and this is a message for everyone, to go and read those other books, because I think a lot of the story that's going to be happening in these last two books, Winds and Dreams, may have already happened in these other books.
I believe so too. I think we're kind of getting basically history repeating itself.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
with different people, except for I can't decide whether I think it's the same Bran or not. And I'm still trying to decipher that myself.
But Bran is a very prominent figure throughout all of the books series, through the Song of Ice and Fire and the Winds and these other, the World of Ice and Fire, the Lands, all of the other books that he has put out in regards to the Song of Ice and Fire. So definitely, I think Bran is the key.
I do too.
Is certainly
Marie Hill says.
So if you want to know something that's going on, check Bran out. So
I agree, Misha. And Marie Hill says John C. Same as Bloodraven called the last Green Seer, and Bran is called the same. Okay. I think that's pretty much what Misha had said too, and that's kind of what I think is going on here too. Fred Targaryen, Uncle Daddy, he says 8,000 years ago exactly, Misha. John C. Yes, okay. So you got your answer. That's cool. If we can't answer, usually the chat can. Fred Targaryen, Uncle Daddy says, I hate cat too. Okay, we can agree on. See, we can agree on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Fred said he hated cat.
Oh, what?
And Moni G said, meow, meow, Fred.
All right. I don't know what any of that shit means. Here's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about Robert and his memory, shall we? So we start the chapter with Robert and Eddard is like with Selmy. Does he remember that he carried on like such a lunatic about needing to participate in the melee? And Barristan's like, nah, he was so drunk he probably forgot. Meanwhile, Ned's like, I know my friend. He's gonna, if what he says drunk and stupid, he's gonna say that much louder the next day, because that's just who he is.
Right, like he's gonna remember. He's not gonna be
he's gonna remember. Interesting you should mention that, because fast forward to, I don't have my notes in front of me, god damn it, but if you look ahead, I think it's Feast for Crows and it's Cersei chapters, and it's talking about when Robert used to just claim his rights on Cersei, like violently and unpleasantly, and then she would say, yeah, see, Misha, I'm sorry. I feel like you don't like these chapters. Can I speak candidly, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, Sarah.
Yeah, no. He, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, like he would like periodically show up and rape her, and she would pretend he was someone else and be like the next day, you know, you really hurt me, and then he would pretend that he had no memory of it, and then like there's even discussion of like Robert being like, oh yeah, he loved women so much he'd fall in love with a woman in an hour and then be hard pressed to remember her name the day later. Like Robert remembers what he wants to remember, and
selective memory they call it.
But if I can say this, you know, I have defended Robert in this stream, but let it be known that my defense of him is paper thin. Okay, it's a paper thin defense. I totally
Misha,
I feel
why
you.
do
We have to
Misha?
leave, everybody. Let's that's the girl is from Amino. She's on our panel sometimes. She's a friend of the chat. We love Aggie. Aggie, you have a good night. Take care of yourself, sweetie. Thank you for taking your time out to come in here.
Yeah, thank
Have a
you.
great night. Everybody, click on her icon.
Enjoy those meatballs.
AB's Corner. That's going to be her and Brand's channel. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Sarah, Misha. Whoever I rudely interrupted, I apologize, but I wanted to get that in there.
Well, as I said, that my defense of him is paper thin. But I do remember, you know, the Cersei chapters from Thieves going into her mind. It was. I'm so glad that they did a Cersei section, in, you know, for Feast of Crows. It was just one of the best.
And
things
she's got
in that.
so much self-contempt. She hates other women.
She says she believes Bobby B is having blackouts. Like, he is somebody who remembers, but then every once in a while he pushes over the edge and he really don't remember.
So I just love everyone being like, oh, but Robert will remember. And meanwhile, he's like, it was so much easier for him to be like the next day, oh, for real, I raped you and hurt you? I don't remember. And to quote Sam, who we've already covered in a Jon chapter in a Game of Thrones, like, bravery is facing hard truths. And for that reason, Samwell Tarly is brave, because he faces hard truths. He faces the fact that he's scared. He faces the fact that he's a coward. Like, turns out that he's actually probably just a normal kid. He's just not as abusive and horrible as his dad. But like, I don't know. I feel like we've already covered. You guys did a lot of this book without me, which is fantastic. I got to jump in the middle, but I feel like we've talked about so much that things that have already happened, and I've just been in it for that short piece.
No, honey. You're not bothering anybody. Plus, you're a show watcher and you've read the book, so you've been a part of it. You just haven't been a part of the panel. So, I mean, don't feel like you haven't been a part of it.
What are you talking about, Sarah?
I don't know.
You're good. You're good. Everybody loves you here.
Yeah.
Everybody, tell Sarah you love her in the chat, please.
I'm not looking at it because I'm too dumb to even know where to find it. No, it's fine.
You're good. Everybody loves you. You're fine.
That's why I like Amino, because whoever is like hates me, I don't find out about it there. So it's cool.
Well, I mean, don't worry about all of that. It's nothing you can worry about.
And listen, Misha, I've heard you speak on personal matters regarding that, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, but I've heard, like, all four of us were on the phone, and you've been like, you know, a person might be like, okay, well, will you handle it for me? And you're like, no, you're going to handle it yourself. And I think that takes a really strong kind of friend to step forward and say those kinds of things. So
it's no problem. I mean, Jennifer, let me go ahead and use you as an example. I mean, it's your channel. You, as I said before, it was her creation, not mine. I was just a guest in her chat. So that's kind of why I just want her to handle it from now on. Not because I'm just, you know, trying to get rid of her or get rid of the stream or anything like that. But it's Jennifer's creation. She started this. It came from her mind. So in my mind,
I hate conflict. I hate conflict. It really, honestly, it breaks me out in hives.
Yeah, I mean.
So listen, if I ever can't,
as I know it.
And I was to say, if I ever can't do this anymore, it's because I either like got a job where I can't do it, or I will tell you about it. I wouldn't ever just sort of like create a bunch of problems first. I'd let you know.
Okay, girl, that's
cool. We're problem free around here, but
okay, and let's read this. LMR says, we love you, Sarah. I say, love you, Sarah. We love you, Sarah, from Marie Hill. House Cheesy says, Sarah, you're a badass.
Money
G says, Sarah, you rock. You look real pretty tonight.
So can you all like talk to the human resources on my behalf? Because there's people who do not agree with that assessment. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's continue talking.
So, yeah, you're always gonna have people who don't like you.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Done with them.
you
So
can't please everybody. You have to please yourself sometimes. And
Yeah, exactly.
not even then, really. So post-tournament, we're done with all the shenanigans. Like, so I think we already talked about Arya jumping around, like very well trained, like a yoga ninja warrior, whereas Dad is like, don't you want to train with Barristan Selmy? Don't you want to train in a more classical, like, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms look? And for whatever reason, she's around on her feet, up and down steps, catching cats. Like, he's like, whatever. And for me, as a parent, I'm like, you know what? I don't necessarily understand Ned, but I respect him for the fact that he's raising the kid he has and not the kid he wants. He wants, if he has a girl, that girl is going to be Sansa. Like, she's going to be a lady and know how to be a lady. And Septim Ordain is not going to want to pull her hair out and drink and get drunk and be too hungover to go to the second day of the party. It's happened to all of us. But, I mean, come on. What are you doing? What are you doing, Septim Ordain? He was a prince. You could have said no. All right. So, like...
So actually, speaking of that, lessons in life, like whoever who was it Ned who was talking that, or was it not Sansa, but Arya saying that every hurt is a lesson and every lesson makes you better. Mm-hmm. That's what Syrio told Arya. So yeah.
So they're like,
it's lessons.
To me, they're like fetishizing pain, because like that poor girl is about to feel pain upon pain upon pain upon pain, to the point where it's not like, oh,
it's not instructive anymore.
It's because I'm gonna learn something. No, it's because the world is so goddamn horrible. I mean, that
I do agree that sometimes you need to hurt a little bit to learn a certain lesson. But, you know, with all of the pain that Arya is about to endure, and all of the family members about to endure, it's not instructive anymore. It's not really teaching you anything. I mean, too much of anything is not good. And even I do agree that a little pain can, you know, lead you in the right direction. I mean, you wouldn't put your hand on a hot stove.
It's not twice. Not twice.
Yeah,
like, don't blame the kid for doing it once.
Yeah,
blame him for doing it twice.
But pain after pain after pain, as you said, Sarah, you know, it's not teaching her anything anymore. It's no instruction in it. It's just pain for pain's sake.
It's just a global.
But some people just can't learn. I mean, it says that every hurt is a lesson. Well, no, lesson is something that, you know, well, I guess it's a lesson, but not lesson learned. You get a lesson every time and you have to repeat it until you get it. But apparently not everybody gets the, you know,
so what is the lesson? So as like a kid who's like internalizing this dialogue, I'm just pretending that I'm Arya for a second. Every hurt is a lesson. When she is hiding at the Sept of Baelor, and it's right before Yoren like snatches her, she hears her dad get his head cut off. Is she like, every problem is a lesson? And that's when like Yoren kind of like snatches her and cuts her hair, and like every suffering is a lesson. And she's kind of just like learned to embrace this like suffering. And I feel like that's exactly what happened to Sansa too. And that's why it sort of upsets me when people are always kind of like making them, oh my God, they're so different. They're so different. No, they're so similar.
Well, Marie made a good point. Ned tried to be different to Arya because Rickard tried to stamp out Lyanna's wildness, and it backfired. So Ned tried to be different to Arya in remembrance of his sister. Also, I want to say, what's up, BBM? BBM's in the house. Okay.
Yeah, it's just such a.
I'm just surprised that lessons, like, we expect the kids to learn the lessons, hopefully, but a couple lines after that, Varys says to I think to Ned, "You are a fool," and at that point, I'm kind of trying to yeah, I mean, so many hints that he's been getting, so many things. I mean, anybody can be a fool for a moment. Like everybody can get that moment where the facts are in front of them, but they still don't get, they cannot make it a whole picture. And Ned at that point, he is having a hard time. I mean, he's trying to get there. He's, piecing the stuff together, but not quick enough for the comfort of a reader. Like we already knew reading it. Like
I will say that as a reader, I sort of rejoice in being a little bit smarter than Ned sometimes. And so sometimes like I try not to be that hard on Ned because I'm like, you know what? I think George R. R. Martin wrote him so that I would sort of be a little bit ahead of him.
And that's why it's mentioned that he's been called a fool, basically. And not every lesson
I don't necessarily think he's a fool. I just think I've been blessed with the knowledge that maybe this isn't like the best situation for him. But like I'd probably do way worse in a situation. So I'm a huge Ned fan. I mean, I know I talk about all his mistakes, but I'm actually like, God damn it.
Because he's a good man in his heart.
He's a good man who has been put in an impossible situation. Impossible situation. And like, no. I talk about like this person being like stupid or that person. Oh my God, no. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna mic myself. Yeah, mute. Yep.
Well, y'all, let's get on to Varys and end this because we're getting up on our 2 hours. Y'all, we try to, we got not myself, unfortunately, but Sarah and Elamar are, they have other things to attend to. We both have lives too. Me and
all four of us. I was gonna say, don't even like single anyone out. All four of us. All four of us are busy. All four of us are busy.
I'm gonna watch this real trashy reality show called Southern Charmed after we.
Guess what? Guess what? Tell me how it went.
It's good. It's a good show. I enjoy the show. Okay, but anyway, so after the banquet, Ned goes back to the castle. He puts the girls to bed, and we get just this out of the blue thing with Varys. And I say out of the blue because that's how Ned perceives it, in my opinion. He's like, whoa, wow.
It doesn't necessarily add anything to the plot to know that, like, Varys can essentially, because he's like, yeah, this, like, cloaked, dirty, masculine-looking, stout dude came through the door. And then all of a sudden, it was Varys. Lord Varys.
Okay. Excuse me. I didn't read the chapter. Can you kind of tell me what happened there?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So Varys comes over. He kind of surprises Ned because Varys normally when he's dressed in silks and perfumes, and he's very just kind of clean and nice smelling. I guess that's how I pictured him. And Ned kind of sees.
He comes and visits them in the jail cell as well. Like he always like dresses differently before he visits Ned.
Exactly. So Ned actually sees him. He doesn't recognize him because he actually smells like, I think, did he call it sweat or something? And then he has like those rags on himself, and he
smells gross. He smells like a dude. He's like, he just smells like, I can't remember what the smell was. Yeah, like he smelled masculine, not like lilacs.
He smells.
Yeah. So then Ned is surprised, and he says, like, there are guards everywhere. How did you get past them? And then Varys says something about knowing the different passages around the castle. And then they start talking about like what the Varys' expectations were for Ned. And then they're kind of like trying to size each other as far as who is for himself and who is for the realm. And then Varys basically says, up until now, I didn't know if you were for yourself only, if you were looking out for yourself, or if you were looking out for the crown. And now I know. Meaning, and he doesn't actually say that you're looking out for the crown, but we kind of understand that Varys meant that Ned is looking out for the crown, not for himself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah, I really don't, I don't like this conversation because I feel like Ned is signing his death sentence. essentially. I mean, if
Yeah.
and y'all can tell me wrong or tell me different. I don't mean to be like that meme. Tell me I'm wrong.
You know, I think
like,
Varys actually confirms a lot of
Varys
stuff.
is like, if you have to ask, I shouldn't be asking. And he's like, tell me who. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh geez.
That's why I think that, like, a little bit like at that point, to me, Ned was acting like, okay, come on, dude. Like he's spelling it out almost. Like I get it already. Like I got it. And Varys actually has to say, I don't think he actually says who does it. But does he?
It's a bunch of bullshit. No, he starts a bunch of bullshit, which is like, I will say the show has helped me very much like Varys and hate Littlefinger, because I feel like the show, I will say that for whatever that makes me in terms of show versus book versus whoever, but like I used to hate the Spider as much as I hated Littlefinger. The Spider and Littlefinger I hated equally until I was like, wait a minute, he looks out for the realm. Like, but does he really look out for the realm?
No.
He's just looking out for his own agenda, and calling it the realm.
Right,
but at the same time, like, he kind of knows more than anyone what like world is like. He's grown up poor, he's grown up working, he's grown up as a sacrifice to like religions. He knows how to get, he's sort of like almost like a faceless man in that he can change his appearance and like sort of infiltrate any situation and be like,
yeah, like a spider basically. He gets
a
everywhere.
spider. And so that's where you get into his psychology, where it's like, guess what? Like you think you're all like, you think you're amazing, but guess what? When Cersei decides I've helped her for 20 years, but on the 21st year, she's going to stomp me out. Okay. Who's going to sing a song about me? No one. And,
yeah. And they talk about, different, whoever wants to help, let's say, if there's a scheme of some sort where somebody will pay somebody else to, let's say, kill somebody, and then that person who agreed to kill whoever may be surprised. Like Cersei may, you know, either excuse somebody for killing Robert and that Tourney,
or she'd be like,
kill him.
She'd be like, I'm gonna actually blow you, and then be like, I know nothing of him, behead him. Like,
yeah.
Sorry to be like, if I'm getting you cucked off your channel, I'm sorry. I've put it on my channel. I have nothing to lose.
What's that guy's name? The one that gave Sansa, but that was later on. No, that gave Sansa the necklace. With the
Littlefinger. Yeah, Littlefinger. Sir Dantos.
Yes. So basically, he kind of like, you know, he helped him and then he got killed. So you never know. You're trying to help somebody and you're paid for doing whatever the bad deed, and then you're dead because it's up to them to either pay or kill you.
When in this chapter, I feel that people are like following a trail of death. They're like, guess what? Wherever Sir Gregor goes, his keep, his mom, his dad's extra wives, his sisters, his brothers, they all die.
Totally creep Ned out. Like when
he was like, oh, guess what? Like servants and like staff,
animals.
Animals won't even go in his house
because Ned is someone who like has dinner with the person who takes care of his pigs. Like he's the person who has dinner who takes care of old Nan and her like charges, because you all know there's the Bible, and then there's old Nan. Like old Nan. Misha, I'm kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Elamar, I'm kidding. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. I'm just talking about in this world. Like, okay, I'm going to mute myself and let y'all talk.
It's okay. There was one more thing when they mentioned, like when Ned asks Varys, like, how did Jon Arryn die? And then Varys says it was the tears of Lys. And then I'm thinking, Lys sounds very much like Lysa to me, very much so. And since later on, again, this is more foreshadowing that Jon Arryn died of that poison. So again, it's very interesting how George does his thing where he names the poison.
Liza.
Lise is actually
Liza. I know. I hate it.
And Liza, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
do you guys listen to the Hamilton soundtrack?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you, if you ever want something to like take up a year in your brain, it's amazing. And there's a character named Eliza, and they call her Eliza. Like, so the fact that like Liza, these drops of Lise, like Liza, Aaron, like, oh, she started an orphanage, like I don't know. Okay, so what else do we need to continue talking about? I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's good. That's about it. We just kind of end there with Varys having a private conversation.
Oh,
and I get the distinct feeling that Varys kind of tries to blame the dead man.
So absolutely. It says, as a final question, Ned asks Varys, what John Aaron had been doing that what had John Aaron been doing that led to his murder? Varys replies, asking questions.
And he also kind of let's go back just a bit, sir, but okay. I wonder when you would get around when he just asked him straight out, like, who killed John Aaron? And then I believe this was in the show as well. Let me find this one for. Well,
I really hated Varys in the show when I saw him as sort of equal to Littlefinger. I was like, I don't know which one I hate worse. Now I very much absolutely hate Littlefinger and love Varys. But at the time of reading this and the show, I wasn't sure where I was at. And I don't know. I'll invite you three ladies. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm one of four. Ladies, talk about who you like better at first.
Well, I mean, I think we all know my answer.
Yeah, we do.
What's your answer?
You know, I have no love for Varys, and I love Littlefinger.
Ah, all right.
Of course, anyone who knows me knows how much I love Littlefinger. I just think that he's such a great villain, and he has so many layers. And Varys, even though he is very multi-layered as well, I don't like the fact that he's so self-righteous about it. He makes it seem like he's doing all of this for the realm, and that's not true. At least Littlefinger says that I'm out for myself. At least he owns it. He may be a wolf, but he's not a wolf in sheep's clothing like Varys. So for that reason, I like Littlefinger more than.
I'm kind of opposite. For Littlefinger is kind of like an open book in a way, because especially like I always thought that he's for one thing, and then later on we find out that he's for Cat and then Sansa and the throne. Actually, everybody's out there for the throne, but to me, like he seems, like you said, Michelle, like they're multi-layered, but Varys is more of a mystery to me. Like I have because he didn't they say something like about units? Like he's not for women, he's not for men. So he's like, and he's confusing that way, because normally
that's what's so scary about him. That's what's so scary about him, is that he's unpredictable.
Exactly, because like he's a mystery to me. Like Littlefinger, he's a mystery, but you know, he was he did what he did because of the whatever was driving him.
Yeah, I mean,
we know
you can be a mystery and an asshole at the same time. Like that's how I feel.
I'm just wondering the things that normally seduce or could drive someone else, like love, money, things like that, they're not the driving force behind Varys. And
no,
that's why I want to know what he's about.
Well, I feel like he absorbs so much more risk than Illyrio. If you think about it, like if they're partners, he's talking in this chapter about how like Cersei, let's say Cersei is like, I'm going to pay you so much to tell me about this story. And then she decides that she's like, actually, you know too much. Your head's gone. Does anyone care? Does anyone care? I don't think anyone.
Yeah, there are no songs written.
No songs sung about spiders. No songs are sung about or sang, or I don't know what the correct language is. Sorry, I grew up in this country and I still don't know the answer to that question.
All right. So what kills me about Varys is right here at the end, he basically blames Sir Hugh. He walks out of the room kind of blaming Sir Hugh, and he said, there was one boy. All he was, he owed to John Aaron. But when the widow fled to the Erie with her household, he stayed in King's Landing and prospered. It always gladdens my heart to see the young rise in the world. The whip was in his voice again, every word a stroke. He must have cut a gallant figure in the tourney, him in his bright new armor, with those crescent moons on his cloak. A pity he died so untimely before you could talk to him.
And you read that with such like conviction. I'm afraid to speak. But I'm going to.
The way you said that was just priceless.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, who wants to talk now?
Right.
Yeah, for that got me thinking again about Varys. He's a master of whispers, right? So I mean, what if he was the one? Maybe if Ned found out when he found out, it would not be good for his overall plan. So maybe, who knows, maybe Varys wanted Ned to not find out yet, or not be so forward with what he found out.
It's really hard, I think. Can I just be like a super annoying book person right now? If you read A Dance with Dragons and you read the very end, can I spoil the end of The Dance with Dragons? Everyone?
I mean, we've been talking about the book all the time, right?
Pause your shit or cut it off right now. But basically, Varys is like, gives you every reason to think he's the puppeteer behind the first 4-5 books at the end of A Dance with Dragons. And so it's sort of hard for me to be like, what is he doing now? Like, because we've just seen him in such a position of power previously that, like, I remember thinking of him as being like, I don't really understand this guy. Is he like Moonboy? Is like he, because you hear about the people in court, like the jugglers, the eunuchs, the whatever, like in court. And yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure, what was your question, Sarah? Because I kind of lost.
Yeah. People. Okay. How about the fact that when we talk about Robert's memory, we talk about how Cersei is like, he absolutely remembered what happened the night before. He was just like too big of a coward to admit to it. Sam's chapter back if we rewind to John chapter in Game of Thrones, the book we were reviewing, John acknowledges that the fact that like Sam is so able to like face hard truths, such the fact that like, yeah, I am Craven and my father prefers my younger brother, so he sent me to the wall. And so he's like, Sam's able to like face hard truths, and that is a form of bravery. And so then we see that like Robert is able to be like, oh, by the way, I'm sure it was my son that was lying, but I don't know. And then, but he doesn't face the fact that all of his bastards everywhere look a certain way, but his kids next to Jaime and Cersei all the time, which I'm sorry, but if kids are getting thrown out of towers, Sir Hugh probably didn't die from accident either, is how I'm feeling. Is like I think it had to have been common knowledge.
I mean, there are no accidents over there. Nothing has been an accident thus far.
So if Bran was the intel in Winterfell, like imagine how long Varys has known that that's happening.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure. I mean, Varys has been working on it for a long time, right? After we find out. So whatever he does, and I'm just surprised that he gives Ned all this information. Wouldn't it be better for Varys to not give Ned any information unless he wants Ned to die?
I think he was assessing Ned's understanding of the situation, because he's like, because we hear this through Ned's point of view, and Ned's like, I couldn't suggest what Varys was suggesting. So, and Varys is like, if you have to ask, you're dumber than I thought. Like, sometimes you sort of like have a conversation with people and sort of get where they're at. And I think that I feel I don't know. These are hard chapters because like I feel so lost for Ned, where he's just so fucking looking for help. I've been in a job before where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to trust. Like, I feel bad for Ned, but at the same time, yeah. So now's when I have my microphone and you guys talk. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
So, like, to kind of sum up what you were saying, Ned, and again, this is a quote from the book. It says that it was talking about when Ned wanted to go back home to the clean simplicity of the North. I mean, for him, he was out there. Things were more, I guess, calmer, made more sense. They were not so crazy as things are in the court. So, yeah, I think Ned is used to simplicity, to hard decisions, but to decisions that are, you know,
or
good or bad. Yeah.
Just, I don't even know if the word simplicity, like, it's just different. It just seems so different. It just seems so different. When you're ruling such a big area, and then King's Landing is like Washington, D.C. Like, can you imagine sending someone who is like an amazing governor of Maine / Canada / New England to Washington, D.C. and expecting them to like thrive there?
Yeah, it's a different environment for Ned. He kind of is lost over there. He wants to, I mean, he didn't want to be there anyway. He was thrown into it. Again, it's his decision, but again, he made, I guess, a wrong decision. But obviously, if he didn't make that decision, we wouldn't have the show or the books. But so, yay, Ned. And
good job, Ned.
Poor Ned, yeah. Yeah, but he does mention it in the chapter. He uses the word simplicity of the North. Yeah.
Yeah, and like how I think we also hear, is this the first time we've heard of Hodor as well? Because when they talk about the mountain that rides, they're like, we know this person who's tall, we know this person who's tall, we know of a simple stable boy at Winterfell who's tall. But then there's the man who rides. Like,
yeah, Mountain, he's the tallest man Ned has ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're like learning about Anguy and the
excuse me, Sarah and Elmar, but it's getting kind of late for me, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and end it, for me tonight.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it's more than 2 hours. Yeah,
we're a normal 2 hours. Yeah. Let's go ahead and just ask the chat. Any questions before we sign off? We try not to go over 2 hours, you guys. Yeah, we've done it before. We've had a 4-hour chat one night before, but
was I there for that one, or was that a different night?
Yeah, I actually have an appointment at 8:30 in the morning myself.
I have a meeting at 8:30 in the morning too. That's why I already did my hair and makeup.
That's a crazy Friday. Everybody has something.
Right. Something, Misha, are you off tomorrow? You got something anyway?
I'm off tomorrow, but I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the bed.
Misha, we love you.
I'm gonna read this comment, you guys, and then any questions, bring them in now, you guys, please. Moni G, don't get me wrong. I love Charlotte and Charlotte's Web, but I'm quick to squish a spider. Then again, I kind of like Varys. Go figure. All right, Moni G, thank you. Okay, House Sanchez, you make it so easy. Okay, House Sanchez says, so why didn't Varys just spill the beans to Ned when he had a chance?
Because Ned wasn't dying yet. I think Varys speaks more candidly to Ned once he knows Ned's a dead man.
Well, I think that if Varys spoke to Ned, Ned would go, crazy, and he would have told everybody, and then whatever plan Varys had. Sorry?
He would have handled things wrong.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm saying, who knows? Maybe Varys wanted, although he didn't want Ned dead, but he didn't want Ned messing up Varys's plan, whatever the plan was. And
so maybe we heard it from Arya, where he's talking to Illyrio about like, well, one hand could die, another hand could die. no, delay, don't delay. Like, so you get the feeling that Varys is controlling the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's why he didn't say everything, because it would mean that Ned would die.
He said, "Dead men don't tell no secrets," which reminds me of the famous line in the rap song, "The state ain't got no case if it ain't got no witnesses." Oh, Lord. Okay, Cameo's popped in the chat. She says, "Hey, y'all, checking in while my sis is in the store. Hi, Jen, LMR, Sarah, and Misha." Hey, Cammy.
Hey, Cammy, how you doing? It's good to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Are there any more questions? Because if there isn't, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jen, Lady Wolverton, Jennifer Wolverton on Facebook, Jennifer Wolverton 1976 on Twitter. And of course, every Thursday night, 8 o'clock, just going through the book, chapter through chapter. Next week, it's going to be Tyrion. I can't remember the number right off the top of my head. Forgive me. Please forgive me. Sarah? You're muted, babe.
Yeah.
The Tyrion chapter next week is fire.
Okay, but is it number 5 or do you know
it's fire? No, it's when they're like, Kat and Tyrion are like having a battle of wits in the Vale. Thank you for having me. Have fun tonight. Be safe. Make good choices. Don't play with venomous animals or play with guns or anything like that. I love you all. Bye.
Those are good. That's a good advice. Actually, I'm just checking really quickly. So next week we have Tyrion 4.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Tyrion 4, chapter 31 in books, and I think because they're off. The audiobooks and the regular books are kind of off a chapter. So
I'll do the same thing for this week unless someone else wants to do something different for next week. How about that? We've discussed it.
We'll work
we'll figure it out.
Work it out. And we're going to have a guest next week as well. Miss Ree Vincians is going to be joining us next week. She has asked me to join. And of course, if you ever want to join, just get in touch with one of us. I need to know by Wednesday. That's when I make the link. Okie doke.
And
I got an announcement. Sunday, 3 o'clock Central. Fiora Hexa. She's got a video. I've got part 1 on this YouTube channel. It's a Sansa Queen John King video. Johnsa, Sansa's hero, however you like. But it just explores Sansa and John for season 8, and will we see that possibly going? And it's not with Dany. Maybe not. Maybe not. But if you don't have anything else to do, please tune in. We're going to do that for a couple hours. It'll be me, LMR, Marie Hill, and Fiora Hexa, or Fire Witch in English.
Well, I'm Misha Houston. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm sorry I was a little bit late getting in, and I didn't read the chapter, but I hope I held my own tonight. Now, if you want to get in touch with me through my channel, my YouTube channel. Just leave a comment. Get in touch with me through my Facebook page or my Instagram, and I will try to be back on time for next week. No doubt about it. I just forgot tonight, but anybody who knows me, I tend to forget every Thursday, But thank you all so much, and I so appreciate it. Wonderful chat tonight. Wonderful.
Thank you. I'm so glad you could come. And I just want to say thank you to House Sanchez. Thank you to Fred Targaryen Uncle Daddy. Thank you to Moni G. Thank you to BBM. Thank you to John C. Marie Hill. Those that shall not be named because they didn't actually come in the chat. Thank you to Aggie. If you're just watching, you're just listening, hey, thank you. I don't profess to know everything about Game of Thrones. I just really love it.
I think we all do. We all certainly do. Thank you all so much. And this is Misha Houston, a proud guest of Jennifer's channel, and I'm saying good night.
Good night, everybody.